Peace and Islam. Welcome unto the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Department for the Communications, Moore's Internet Televideo Network, or M.I.T.N for short, which is a part of the Imperial Broadcasting Agency. For the record, today's date on the Amexem-Moor calendar is Peace Day, the 11th of Kumal, which is in the year of 301-630. I am the Noble Tinawad Il, and I serve as the lead video broadcast agent, and I shall be your hostess for this broadcast segment. We are continuing on with the Amexem-Moor-Empire perspective. This is segment 12, and it's entitled Mismanagement of Resources. It is my honor and my privilege to welcome back to our segment the Amexem-Moor-Empire, His Imperial Majesty, our Supreme Commander, and an Enu El Bey. Peace and Islam.
Peace and light, Islam, Noble Tina. All right. I'm not in my customs or any other defense uniform. However, under Article 5, Clause 2 of the Amexem-Moor-Empire Constitution, would be my rank of Supreme Commander. However, my standard would be Amexem-Moor-Empire Constitutional Monarch. I am the Emperor Anu El Bey. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me. And you said the topic is going to be what now?
Mismanagement of resources earthwide pertaining to our kins and kindreds. Islam.
Islam. All right. I'm going to have to cover that from the perspective of how mismanagement of resources impacts our kith and kindred directly and the entire population of the Amexem-Moor-Empire indirectly.
Islam. Yes.
Islam. All right. Well, there are many factors that go into the mismanagement of resources across the planet. Some of it is tied back to avarice, or the more common word folks are familiar with is greed. You have parties who control the guns in particular places, and you have those who have the what they call the deep pockets and the guns that control them. And what they do is they step in and say, we want these resources so we can make these particular items across the planet. And you've got all the resources in your soil. We're going to give you some funds for you and yours. You're going to look the other way. We're going to take those resources at very low rates. So not much will get into your treasury, but some will get into your pockets and a little will get into your treasury. Because a little's getting into the treasury and you spend much of what's in your treasury on weapons as opposed to infrastructure, then there's not much benefit to those that are local to your domain. So as a rule, the Alkebulan and the Abzu has great abundance of natural resources being exploited. You had colonial powers that basically came and carved up North Amexem, Central and South Amexem, and they carved up the Alkebulan and the Abzu. So basically, you got Londinium, Lashbruna, Madrid, Paris, swamp in English, Deutsch, Berlin, excuse me, in Deutsch language. You have the modern day colonialists, the neo-colonizers, if you would. That would be Moscow and Beijing. One of them does it by way of being the only one that will provide or make available weapons to be bought by anyone across the mother continent, and the other one does the debt trapping. They call it the BRI, where they get you, they say they're going to do this for you in terms of infrastructure, and they charge you 4% interest rate that you can never pay back. And they don't finish the work. A lot of times the work is actually shoddy, and some of the projects don't even get completed. Some of them get canceled because things are not going as they should. However, the debt remains, and they're going to say to you, all right, we're going to require that you give us a 99-year lease for this, a 99-year lease for that, for next to nothing. They extract the resources out. So the resources leave the soil costing them very little. They leave the soil and the place where they got it from when they leave very little in the treasury, they mix it, they make those things into finished goods and products, and it comes back to where it came from, costing way more than what it costs on its way out, contributing further to debt. That's debt trapping coming and going, or in that case, going and coming. So it's a mess. And what is allowed shall continue. Now you have those who have made deals, and you have those that have engaged in coups to shut particular things down. Now in the Sahel, you've had a lot of those particular coups. You have military hunters. Now I'll give them credit, at least 2 out of the 3 I'll give some credit to. Because Ouagadougou and Niamey have completely paid off the national debt for both of them. And they are doing other things in terms of infrastructure and expansion of agriculture. I'll give respect where respect is due on those 2 things. My issue, though, is how they're funding it. They have literally changed the game. They were under the influence and basically bowing down to Paris. Now they're under the influence and bowing down to Moscow, because Moscow is the only one that will let them get weapons. So in order to even have access to do that, they made the deal where they have the Russian oligarchs make the deal to step forward, and they will refine the gold for them. They could have brought in our family from Accra or from Jayburg to refine that gold. Instead, they bring in the arms dealers from Moscow to do that. I have an issue with that. So as a result of those things being the case, they have begun to pay down their national debts, and I respect that. However, you're doing so enriching Moscow instead of enriching our family on the continent. I don't like that at all. And who is arming M23? M23 is under the influence of Kigali, under the influence of Brussels. The EU has a mineral deal with Kigali, when Kigali does not have resources like that. So why do they have a mineral deal? Because they know full well where they're getting those minerals from. They're stealing them from Congo Shiba. They've invaded Congo Shiba. Again, the last time this happened, it took 11 armies to yank them out of Congo Shiba, because Kinshasa couldn't do it on their own. This is getting out of hand, out of control. And for what? It has to stop. What is allowed shall continue. It must be stopped. So the official position of the Amexem-Moor-Empire imperial government in the service of all of you, East and West have to go. Londinium, out. Bashbuna, out. Madrid, out. Paris, out. Swamp or Berlin, out. So-called DC, out. Moscow, out. Beijing, out. New Delhi, out. Everybody, out. Take the military hunters with you. Everybody, out. Take the Rockefeller-owned and operated African Union, out. Take the Rockefeller-owned and operated United Nations, out, especially with their WHO and their World Bank, out. Paris Club, out. The Commonwealth, out. XAF, XAOF, or CDF versions of the CFA, out. Gone, never to return. And those who are on the payroll of all of them, that are the alleged leaders that control the guns, out. We'll take it from here. The quote-unquote African Union budget is literally 650 million so-called US in gold. Are you serious? 650 million in so-called US in gold to care for the needs and concerns of 1.5 billion folks in the Al-Kibalan? Are you serious? Absolutely not. That is their fiscal budget, their brand new budget. Our fiscal budget that we have now just took effect 11 Earth days ago. It is $3,186,000,000 in gold. 5 times the size of the African Union's budget to care for all of us, the entire population of the Amexem-Moor-Empire, and our kith and kindred, who are our imperial interests in North Amexem, South Amexem, the Al-Kibalan and the Abzu, the Albion district, the Mero district, Al-Andalus district, the Cebu Cavite district. We go operational, then that will include the Kush Rapper as well. $3,186,000,000 in gold. And someone's going to argue, well, how are you going to take care of folks in all those command areas across the planet like that you just mentioned with $3,186,000,000 in gold? The exchange rates, why they still exist before they bring in their UMU as the single currency for their jurisdictions. The exchange rates are very much in our favor, and we'll stretch our gold and silver that we collect to transform lives in all those command areas all across the planet. That's how. Let's be clear. The capital city or imperial city of the Amexem-Moor-Empire is Agade, Medina, where I sit right now. The financial hub of the Amexem-Moor-Empire is centered, headquartered in Tubeni, in the central portion of the Al-Kibalan and the Abzu. It is our financial hub, the seat, if you would, of the Amexem-Moor-Empire global common market. We don't need their SWIFT system for transactions. The Amexem-Moor-Empire Department for the Treasury and Budget operates the Imperial Depository System. As long as you have platinum, gold, and silver on account inside of the Imperial Depository, you can transact all across the planet. We make our silver in denominations as small as a quarter ounce of silver. Well, I don't want to buy a quarter ounce of silver worth of material. Well, you have to buy what's called institutional size. If someone goes to a place like quote unquote Costco's, when they go in there, you can't buy a jar of peanut butter. It's going to be 3 large jars together. So a quarter ounce of silver might acquire that. That's how we adjust things in terms of the transactional scenario inside of the Amexem-Moor-Empire global common market. Not theory, it's been operational, underway, and available for 25 plus Earth years. We have more than one type of account. You have the business account. If you establish a business in the Amexem-Moor-Empire, you automatically have an account established inside of the Imperial Treasury's Imperial Depository System. A national can establish an account. There's 2 types. One of them has an appellation attached. But I don't want the Imperial government tracking what I'm doing. That's fair. So we have the private account. There's no appellation attached to the account. The distinction is whatever you do not forget that password or you won't have access to that account. If you enter that password wrong the first time, it triggers the alert. If you enter it a second time wrong, you get a final warning. Sure you want to do the third? You sure you want to do that? You better figure out how to get that account straightened out. Since there's no appellation on it, we can't verify that, which means if you enter that account password wrong the third time, it's officially locked and frozen. It will stay that way for 6 months. You can try again in 6 months. Doesn't lock. I mean, if you don't unlock it in 6 months by attempting to enter that password again, 90 days from that third attempt, I mean, at that point, that fourth attempt to unlock it, those funds are now seized by the imperial government. We're not looking to seize the funds. However, We're not going to let it sit there unaccounted for forever. We have things to do. Equipment, materials, and supplies to buy for all of you. So you have privacy, just don't forget your account number, your password, excuse me. So that's how that effectively would work. We have rail corridors to build. We have rail corridors to expand and upgrade. Our rail corridors, for example, in the Sahel is landlocked. The Trans-Sahel goes from Zanaga district, cuts through Mali Beni Warith, cuts through Manjina or Burkinab, and makes its way into N'Djamena. We move to add intermodal freight ability. So we will link a rail corridor from the deep sea port in Omotayo district. It will leave from so-called Lagos and it will work its way into Ilorin and Iwo and Zuru and make its way into Niamey and Buban. And it will be intermodal. So you can go from truck chassis to rail to ship and vice versa. Underneath the rail corridors, pipelines for oil, natural gas, and water. What do you mean water? We're taking salt water in through those pipelines and then we're running them inland to various places where it gets desalinated to give our folks access to more water. And we have fiber optics lines to run underneath also for communications purposes. That's how the rail corridor is designed, the way I designed it myself 25 Earth years ago. This is how we save lives, improve the quality of life by transforming infrastructure for the greater good for everyone. And not just in Al-Kibble and Abzu, in North Amexem, South Amexem. When we get operations in Central Amexem, we'll do it there too. Sebukavidi district. We get operational in Cushion Rapid, we're going to do it there too. As fast as I can fund it. So Tubengi is the financial hub of the Amexem-Moor-Empire. And from there, that's where we operate the global common market. New Dongola has a lot of untapped resources there, misnomer so-called Antarctica. It's all part of our global commonwealth, though, our global common market. And we're going to run it all from Tubengi, and Tubengi is run from Agadi Medina here in North Amexem. And that's the best way for me to respond to what you asked about, because we don't play that nonsense here. There's more than enough for everyone. Platinum, gold, silver, palladium, rhodium, chromium, diamonds, silver, iron ore. There's plenty of it. Cotton is basically a commodity as well. That's a natural resource. What I'm speaking about is the mineral resource that can be used to be manufactured into a whole host of things for industrial purposes that will bring convenience in many different ways. We just move differently because we prefer to have what's referred to as, in our view anyway, responsible capitalism, which is collaborative as opposed to competitive, careless capitalism. And that's what we have operational underway by way of Department for the Interior, by way of the Imperial Power and Industry Agency, in terms of the regulation of business within the Amexem-Moor-Empire. And that's how we have the ability to take care of our commerce, because Department for the Customs regulates the commerce of every one of those businesses, whether it be a trading business or a services-based business. This is how we get it done. Under Article 4 of our Constitution for free enterprise, which is free of monopolies, this is how we get that done. And the Department for the Customs has the Imperial Customs Force to enforce all of our trade conventions, our trade treaties. Enforces our sea law enforcement. Enforces our commerce and trade to make it fair and equitable within the rigors of the Amexem-Moor-Empire Constitution. That's the best way I know how to wrap this up. Do you have any questions or follow-on questions for me at this point, Noble Tina?
Oh, Islam, I believe you've covered pretty much all of the questions I had in mind. Just last minute thoughts, any feedback that you want to share regarding everything we've discussed so far?
Islam, in closing, I'll just simply say, what is allowed shall continue. Most of our kith and kindred, they are woefully uninformed in North Amexem. They are 10 times worse than that in Neon Keelan and the Zoo because of poor infrastructure for communications. So there are those that take advantage of that, basically Moscow and Beijing. So things are heavily propagandized in Sector 4. And our kith and kindred, they will argue you down on the propaganda that's been fed into them from Moscow and Beijing nonstop. So they don't know what they think they know, and they are being led around by the nose and don't even realize it. So on this side of the ocean, it's similar. Our kith and kindred on this side of the ocean have far greater access to information and resources, including funds. Their priorities are torn up, and they are heavily marginalized and don't know how to break out of the marginalization that they volunteer to participate in, that we provide them a way out of. So to our kith and kindred on both sides of the ocean, we make it very plain to them. Listen, you have a lot to unlearn that you may learn. All melanated heterosexuals on both sides of the ocean are welcome to come towards the Amexem-Moor-Empire. If you come here and you're not one of those that Harriet Tubman would have shot, if you're not basically a traitor, if you're basically not a puppet of the colonizing hostiles, well, then we'll allow you to come here and we'll train you. You'll be trained to participate within the Amexem-Moor-Empire jurisdiction and venue, which is to include inside of our global common market and give you a viable option and choice. So you have to empower those that basically marginalize you. You can establish your business here, operate your business within the Amexem-Moor-Empire, and we'll show you how it's done on both sides of the ocean. That's the best way I know how to respond to that. And I'm gonna leave it there. So thank you for a few minutes of time on your platform, Noble Tina. And I yield the floor. Peace, love, and light in Islam.
Islam. Well, Your Imperial Majesty, on behalf of the Moors Internet Televideo Network, our audience, myself, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to answer my questions, Islam. And we thank you for your service as well. Islam. So to our wonderful audience, for more information about the Amexem-Moor-Empire, Imperial Government operations, contact is available through the website that we influence. That website is modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. That website again is modernmoormonarchy.squarespace.com. We ask that you leave a positive comment. I would appreciate it. We all would. So thank you once again. And you're encouraged to share the link for this video and this segment and all the other segments with all who you associate with. So until next time, on behalf of His Imperial Majesty and all of my fellow Amexem-Moor-Empire nationals, I say thank you and great health, peace, and prosperity upon all of you and upon all of us. And we say Islam.